This is our community's house. We're all guests in it here to serve our community. My name is Mike Little, Mayor of the District of North Vancouver, and the pleasure falls to me to welcome you all here to our regular meeting of Council for Monday, December 8th at 7 o'clock. I would like to start our meeting off in a good way. I've asked Councillor Murray to read our land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mayor Little. We respectfully acknowledge the original peoples of these lands and waters, specifically the Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, and Musqueam, on whose unceded ancestral lands the District of North Vancouver is located. We value the opportunity to learn, share, and serve our community on these unceded lands.
Thank you very much, Councillor Murray. Council, there's been an agenda that's been circulated with the package. I'd like to make one small amendment, which is that item 8.4 is missing a legal technical document, and so it's not actually ready for consideration, so it's been withdrawn by staff. Other than that, will someone move the adoption of the agenda as presented? Councillor Back, is there a seconder on the matter? Second by Councillor Ma, prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Council, there's a set of minutes that's been circulated with the package from the November 3rd regular meeting of Council. Any errors or omissions from those meeting minutes as presented?
So moved.
Been moved. Is there a seconder on the matter? Second by Councillor Back, prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. All right, Council, moving on with this evening's agenda. At the front end of every regular meeting of Council, we preserve a period of time of up to 30 minutes to hear from members of the community on issues of concern to them. We do have a few people who have signed up to speak in advance, and so we're going to work our way through those names, and then after that, if there's still time, and there should be, we will see if anybody else would like to add their name to the list. So to start us off, I have Cheyenne Tariq. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Cheyenne, and I am grateful for the opportunity to see here before you and speak with you for a moment. I am here to speak to item 8.10, the student accommodation project on Hunter Street. Now, I'm a fourth-year student at Capilano University. I will be graduating next summer, and so I will not get to enjoy the benefits that this project provides. And yet, reaching the end of my degree has made something clear to me, that it matters to ease the way for those who come after us. That's why I'm here tonight. Too many times, my classmates speak about leaving immediately after class is over, because if they miss a specific connection or a bus, it'll take them an extra hour or two to get home. And too often, I see the same quiet exhaustion that I feel in their eyes. And it's hard. And it doesn't have to be. This project, it affords students the ability to live a walkable distance from campus, or at most a short bus ride. It allows us to actually take part in campus life, and it allows us to invest directly here in North Vancouver. We can find part-time work here. We can contribute to the local economy, and we can participate in extracurriculars instead of running for a bus the moment a class ends. Now, I had a chance to tour the model suite on campus this fall, and it's beautiful. It's thoughtfully designed. It has a whole suite of amenities, and it allows for the possibility of a shared student community, which I think is very important. I understand that this is not a typical application, and yet still, I hope that you consider the real benefits this project provides to those who come after us, and that you do all you can to help it along. Mayor, Council, again, thank you for your time, and thank you for the chance to speak with you.
Thank you for your comments. Great. I would say we're apparently having some challenges with the audio on. We believe it's being recorded properly, but we're not sure if it's being broadcast out. We did have an amp in the back within the sound system this last week that decided it was done. And so we've been trying to adjust all of the equipment to make this work. So I'm having to really lean into my microphone to get it going. We don't have the normal fine controls that the clerks would have to adjust sound. So if it sounds a little quiet to you, lean into your mic a little bit louder, please. But also IT, if you can hear us, IT is working on a solution for improving the sound quality for people who are joining us remotely. The next speaker I have is Eric Skronik. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I just want to make a quick comment relative to one of the items from tonight. I think Bylaw 87, 58, 59, and 60, relative to the liquor store that's moving. I was just going to make a comment that I support 8758, which allows the liquor store to move, but just very unclear and don't really understand why you have 59 and 60. 59, I believe, is sort of would change the zoning so that they couldn't put a liquor store where the one had been prior to the move. So if it wasn't done right away, then what's the point? And I believe that the provincial government has the right to decide where liquor stores are, and they've got regulations about that. They can't be within 1 kilometer or whatever. So it just looks like the district is foreclosing on certain types of businesses, which I don't think should be right, when in fact, if you look around the village, we have 5 financial institutions, 5 restaurants, 5 coffee shops, and in fact, there's just been a permit to open another coffee shop there. So I just don't see the need for the other 2. That's my comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we'll have more information on that at the item. I think we cover exactly that in the presentation, so we'll look forward to addressing that later. At this point, we're going to move to non-agenda items. So my next speaker is Jeremy Cato, joining us here in person. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
There's no clock down in the city, just down the road there in Lonsdale, there's a big clock at the top that tells you exactly how long. Oh, it'll come up there. Oh, who rings the horn? I want to thank you for allowing a resident from the city to speak to this council, but I did live in the district for decades, so, but I've come to talk about something that's relevant for everyone on the North Shore, and it is about to ask this mayor and council to sign and join the more than 1,000 other people on the North Shore who have signed this petition calling for the province to create an immediate public inquiry into the Public Inquiry Act under the $3.87 billion North Shore wastewater treatment plant. And it's relevant to this council and all the others on the North Shore because you've just been voting on utility bills, which here in the district are going to go up 55% over the next till 2029, as I believe. So why a petition? Why do we need a petition? Well, to start with, the weighty voices of the district and the city and the District of West Vancouver will have real impact on the decision-making in the province. And a public inquiry, why a public inquiry? Well, accountability is important. Clearly, Metro needs some kind of reform, but most of all, prevention of this kind of disaster to happen again. As you all know, there is work being done now on the Iona wastewater treatment plant, another mega project. It's budgeted somewhere between $6 and $10 billion, but who knows really? Metro has changed that number a couple of times, and that project is on very shifting ground, and it could end up costing, well, it could be North Shore Wastewater Plant 2.0. And so a public inquiry is not designed so much as to nail down people well, it's about accountability, but also reform. How do we reform this system so we don't get that? Now, my brief, I've got 1 minute and 13 seconds. I'm going to provide a quick summary of, talk a little bit about the financial impact of the plant, and then what can a public inquiry do? Why do we need a public inquiry, especially in light of Metro has paused its review? Well, I won't bore you with the numbers because you know them all. $700 million to start. It's approaching 4 billion. There's reason to believe that the final tab for that will be 5 billion because the remediation of the site has not even been budgeted. Metro has no idea what it's going to cost. I know this because I've asked them. So we need to look at this very carefully. Secondly, well, the financial impact. Your ratepayers here are looking at really skyrocketing fees, and we all are facing that here on the North Shore. So why a public inquiry? Well, in an independent review, a thoroughly independent review, we really deserve as North Shore residents a full understanding of what exactly happened here and why. And a full public inquiry under the Public Inquiry Act can compel documents, obtain testimony under oath, provide transparency, restore public trust, and maybe most of all, faith in institutions and our democracy. So I would encourage all of you, please sign. I will send you the link. 3 minutes.
Well done. I will just say that the council did unanimously endorse a public inquiry. It was Councillor Pope's motion, and we unanimously supported it. I want to say
Over a year
in the
ago.
fall of last year, so just a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
And so we do agree with that. Someone has their volume up. So we generally agree that we want to see that evidentiary process, and that's the challenge, is that if this is a regular court process and the two parties decide that they're better off to reach a settlement than actually go through the court process, which has a very high likelihood that that's going to be the outcome, then we would never see their evidence versus their evidence and see a cross-examination. So that is the position of this council. I don't think that has changed, and we're supportive. If individual members of council would like to sign the petition, they're welcome to do that.
I will send the link. And may I say one last thing, because you addressed something? I'll take 10 seconds. We have had public inquiries occur alongside litigation.
Yeah.
The Gomery inquiry is a perfect example.
We
So
know.
we could do this. Anyway, I won't waste any more of your time.
I don't know if you're aware, but the province has not responded ever officially to our request for it or to a follow-up request to ask for an official answer. Never received an answer.
Pressure. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Next speaker I have is, joining us virtually is Hazen Colbert. Let's just check and see. Just being moved over to the panel. Just be a moment. Okay. Colbert, can you hear me? You're marked as muted in the system. There we go.
Thank you, Mayor Little.
Welcome. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Because of all the technical difficulties, including that I'm getting feedback for every word that I say to you guys, took me some time. You know, interesting that I want to, first of all, address something that Jeremy Cato said and that Catherine Pope actually 100% is correct about, which was the Gomery inquiry. And the most remarkable thing about the Gomery inquiry to me is that I actually relied on the Gomery inquiry in November of 2022 in an application hearing in Ontario. And so I know it incredibly well. And all of the people that say, oh, no, we can't have an inquiry at the same time that we're doing, that there's a proposed litigation, that is just an outright lie. And I have to say it. And I say that because I've been through it. It's not true. First of all, Mayor Little, I wanted to be there tonight, but I could not be because I have a gift, a donation to the District of North Vancouver. It's irrevocable, and I'm going to present it to you tomorrow at Lynn Valley Library. And you will be the trustee. You will be the trustee, so you will get to do with it as you please based on the input that you get within Municipal Hall. So I'm going to bring that over. I'm going to see you tomorrow. I think you're there around 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or something like that.
Actually, it's in the evening. It's at 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock at Lynn Valley Library. Yeah.
Yeah, Mayor Little, 5 o'clock isn't the evening for me. It's actually part of my workday.
There you go.
Just as it is for you guys. Look, thank you. I want to share with you guys a bit of a concern I have about something that's happening in the Dollarton, and it's happening on the Saywell-Tooth lands. And I'm going to give you an address and I want to make clear, in an unusual situation, the District of North Vancouver is actually the decision maker on this matter. Back in October, the Tsleil-Waututh Nation actually put in place certain rules, and they call them the Tsleil-Waututh Nation Fireworks Law. And believe it or not, the Tsleil-Waututh Nation relies on the District of North Vancouver's fire department chief, the fire chief, to enforce the rules. And this, the law, that's what they call it in the Tsleil-Waututh Nation. The law was passed on October 25th, and there is actually a fireworks distribution, I'll call it a center at 3080 3080 Dalton, which is not compliant with the law. Now, I recognize that we're talking about only 6 weeks later, but the District of North Vancouver fire chief is the person that is responsible for it, and I would strongly recommend that the district take immediate action with respect to this particular retail establishment, which is selling fireworks across Canada online. Because they are in, they right now they are not in compliant with the Tsleil-Waututh bylaws or laws, and the Tsleil-Waututh are relying on the district.
All right.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you very much for your comments, Hayes and Colbert. I believe Corey Cost has had his virtual hand up, and so we've moved Corey over to the panel. Welcome, Dr. Cost. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Your Worship. I was in a panic mode, though, for about 10 minutes because no sound came across. Happy to see that come back just in time. I see some feedback.
You probably missed our
loops.
comment. We did receive comments that that we were having some IT challenges, and we do have staff on site who are working on it. We believe the recording did actually capture the audio, and so there will still be a record of that entire
That's
period.
great.
But it does sound like
Yes,
it's working now.
especially Eric that spoke, I guess, about Edgemont. Anyway, I hope you will allow a non-agenda item to be discussed, namely the council workshop just had. Ironically, it's about inclusionary zoning, and I looked through this acronym and that was in there, IZ, and I didn't know what IZ was. Although it occurred some 60 odd times in the document. Tip, mention your definitions early on so that people don't somehow miss the fact that IZ stands for inclusionary zoning. There's sort of obvious things that get missed in reports sometimes. Now I have found that the median monthly rental is $2,950, which is down 8% from the previous 2024 number, and that the amount is for rental of per square feet is about $3.34. I would really like to see some graphic scenarios of what would happen in the future, since 90% of the units are being added yearly at ever increasing market pricing. So we'd like to see some predictions down the line, see how this whole discount of making things more affordable works out in the long term. I'm not sure how you take account of cash in lieu. I don't know how that's calculated. I'm sorry it didn't come clearly across that is a one-time payment as opposed to multiple years of having up to 60 years of 10% discount. Anyway, some more numbers need to be flushed out, and I'm hoping that it gets clarified when this matter comes before council. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments, Dr. Koss. I will just say that we will make sure that all of the materials that were used in the presentation are posted on the website by tomorrow morning, and so maybe there will be some things in there might answer some of those questions as well, but it will come back for future. It wasn't a decision point on the policy, so there are going to be future discussions about inclusionary zoning before it's implemented in the municipality.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to address council? Okay, I see no virtual hands. I see no hands in person here, so I'm going to move on with this evening's agenda. We do have a special recognition tonight that we wanted to take some time to acknowledge. A very dear friend and longtime colleague is about a month away from his retirement here with the District of North Vancouver, and after 40 years with the District of North Vancouver and 18 years as the Chief Administrative Officer for the District of North Vancouver. And so I wanted to take some time to say how much I appreciate you, and maybe tell a little bit about David and his time with municipalities as well. David joined the district in 1978. Now, I understand I've been telling everyone you started as a swamper in the garbage trucks, but what was your role in 1978 when you started?
I was a young human resources officer, but I was a swamper when I started in Burnaby
In Burnaby.
back in 1973.
73. So in total, you have about 50 years of experience working with municipalities, and 40 of those years right here with the District of North Vancouver. And just for some comparison, that was Pierre Trudeau's first term as Prime Minister. That was a long time ago. It was when the C-bus was brought into operation, and the District of North Vancouver's population was about 64,000 people. David became the Director of Corporate Services in 1992 and stayed in that role until 2000, when he left to go to the District of West Vancouver. In 2007, David returned to the district as the CAO, where he has been ever since. Dave has been a steady, dependable leader here at the district for the last 18 years. His dedication to staff, to council, and to the community is evident in everything he does. And he accomplished much to be proud of in his time as CAO. And a few notable highlights. Dave oversaw the construction of numerous new facilities in our community, including the fire halls, libraries, community centers, as well as the opening of several new parks. He led the creation of agreements with the Tsleil-Waututh Nation, the co-management agreement at Weyowitch and Kates Park, and the servicing agreement with the Squamish Nation. He's opened the district's climate office, leading the way for us to make great strides in reducing our energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions. He led the electrification of our fleet and the creation of our digital strategy to ensure that we are future ready. One of the things that really stands out, however, amongst all these other accomplishments is the dedication David showed to keep the public and staff safe during the pandemic. You certainly had to absolutely pivot and change the way we delivered local government at that time, and you clearly were a leader in that. It's been 47 years, 6 mayors, 11 premiers, and 10 prime ministers since David's career started with the District of North Vancouver, and our population has grown to almost 100,000 people, so quite a bit has changed in our community with 50% more people since then. One thing that hasn't changed over all these years is David's dedication to public service. He's committed nearly 40 years to the people of the District of North Vancouver. Personally for me, David, you've been an incredible personal help in my time as mayor. Every time I've had questions, you've brought informed answers and responses and helped give me good advice to direct my actions and the actions of our council. And so please join me, everybody here, in saying a heartfelt thank you to David Stewart for his decades of service and commitment to our community. I'd love to open up the mic for council members if you would like to add your comments. If you raise your virtual hand, we'll come to you. So first, I'm going to go to Councillor Hanson.
Yeah, thank you very much, Your Worship. Obviously, Mr. Stewart, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service to the district and to local government more generally. You were one of the first persons that I met when I was elected in 2014 in the staff of the district. You've always been very thoughtful with me. You've always been very kind in your dealings with me. You've always been available to me. You've given me good advice when I needed it. The depth and breadth of your knowledge of local government is second to none in British Columbia, and I thank you for that. I wish you well in the future, and I hope that when you run again for Port Moody Council, and if in fact you should have an even number of votes as against your opponent, let us hope that this time you win the coin toss. Thank you, David.
Dave Landslide Stewart, yes. I got Councillor Ma.
David. I mean, Mr. Stewart. When I first met Mr. Stewart, it was back when I was on the executive of a local community association. Back then, we only came to District Hall when we wanted to complain about something. David may not have given us what we wanted, but he always listened, and we were usually able to work out something that was satisfactory to both parties. When I became a counselor 3 years ago, and being new, he was always patient when I came to him asking for advice. He listened, and we usually had a good laugh by the end of the meeting. And through our discussions, we found out that we both went to the same high school, but I think he's a few years ahead of me. Congratulations, David.
Thank you, Councillor Ma. Other councillors like to make a comment? Thank you.
I'm going to take my full 6 minutes. After 30 years working with Dave, I'm gonna take it, and my apologies because it's hard. It's hard to put into words the last 30 years with Dave. The speed at which those years have passed is hard to absorb, and at 50 years for him in municipal government, I know he feels the same way. The closure of this chapter and the beginning of another is both reflective and filled with curiosity of what may be. The past taught us a lot, and many like Dave stayed for the duration. It was a mark of success if your tenure was decades. We even owned the title of having the longest serving municipal employee in Canada at 57 years. The district was a goal for many, a secure job, good pay, and opportunity. As his evolution touched for some time the Human Resources Department, he hired many, some who have just retired recently themselves. Tony Caldwell, the guy sitting over there in the gray hoodie, was one of those people, almost 40 years to the day in sanitation. Tony grew up in North Van. His job was on the back of a garbage truck for years. He enjoyed the work. His potential was more than his position. So much so that when council of the day contemplated moving garbage to the private sector and the word strike was thrown around, engineering and Dave met with Tony, Dave quipping to him after numerous meetings that they had to stop meeting like this. Tony created a plan that would save the taxpayers' money, create efficiency on the routes, knowing them as he did, and ultimately avoiding a lengthy garbage strike. I've told that story a lot over the years, as it says a lot about empowering people and that everyone is contributing in ways many don't see. Dave saw that a lot in people, giving them huge amounts of responsibility, learning as they went, making mistakes, pushing them outside their comfort zones, using an old school management style built on trust, critical thinking with a variety of skill levels, and letting people color outside the lines, contemplating what solutions could be creative to solve problems, not just reaching for the status quo solution. When Tony retired, Dave was there, sending an important message about upstairs. Dave also did his time on the back of a garbage truck. Climbing the proverbial ladder, he advanced because of hard work, a strategic, pragmatic approach to challenges, political acumen, and an innate sense of what pieces needed to fall into place to manage a municipality. He was very operational with an administrative ability that allowed him to relate and communicate as easily with those lifting cans as he could with the suits. His East Van roots and the bumps of life, some significant, prepared him well. He was articulate and still is, educated, and generally among his peers sat in roles driving the bus, not as a passenger. Taking risk was also a trait he used regularly, recognizing that you could never truly get anywhere without thinking outside the box. We had the first tree bylaws in the region, community-driven planning, strict environmental policies, among the first to implement the use of technology at the council table, new partnerships with service providers, and long evolving relationships with First Nations. He also had one of the largest group of women in executive leadership roles of any municipality in the region. His ego was not one to be threatened. Rather, he was curious and interested in hearing all perspectives, not just his own. It's why when he left, we lost more than just him. Raised by his mother, he thinks with both sides of his brain, the quiet intellect and the creative visionary, hard to find, and at the height of his career, he was considered one of the best in the province. We are also very lucky in another way. He loved the municipality like it was his home. Even though Port Moody was where he drove to every night. He understood community. As president of the Pleasant Side Community Association in Port Moody, he recognized the power of democracy and the people and respected the ability for people to rise up sending a message and then helping guide council to a solution. An old school environmentalist, he worked closely with those that shared the same sense of responsibility. He'll fight for a park or a forest any day, and no idea was out of the realm of possibility. Over the decades, he has worked with a lot of community and a lot of politicians. It takes a special kind of person to work as a public servant, accepting new approaches while guiding, even when it's contrary to your own beliefs and expertise. With great respect, the first time I met him in 1996 when I was elected, I thought, what motorcycle gang did he belong to? The scars, clearly a broken nose, maybe more than once, black beard, complete with chunky gold rings on almost every finger. He kind of looked like Lucifer. And yet, tailored three-piece suits and Italian shoes, maybe mafia was more appropriate. The earring came later. And yet, as those first few weeks turned into months and then years, who he was became clear. Fiercely dedicated to his work in the district, treating us second only to his family, who he boasted about on a regular basis, his 3 children displayed proudly as they grew in the photos in his office. He was known at the hall as the Black Knight, as he was tasked with giving the bad news if your tenure was ending. He was by this time Director of Corporate Services. He handled our most significant files, and for many, he was already a shadow CAO. A phone call early one morning, he wanted me to know that he had taken a job as West Van's new CAO. It was not a good day. He had become the one that I went to the most. We clicked instantly in 1996. I would find myself wandering down the hall to his office repeatedly after spending brief moments with the existing CAO, whose face would change to a subtle shade of red when I began to bring yet another idea forward. Clearly not an out-of-the-box thinker, and when I finished, he could barely speak. So I would get up and head down to Dave's office where we would begin a ritual of those conversations that continue today. He taught me a lot. OCPs are living documents. They change with the community. When you are presented with an opportunity, take it. Interpretation is a way to keep more people content, finding a middle ground. He also taught me a lot about a system that could run smoothly with the right kind of information, community input, and council discussion. He spent a couple of terms in West Van, then we hired him back as CAO. A ferocious reader, he devours books, a master tailor, his love for Halloween, and his handmade costumes are legendary. The creativeness instilled in his employees is a way to not take ourselves too seriously. A skilled painter, his photos from his travels are often found on his canvases, gently smoothing the lines of the biker gang image. He has never needed to stand in front of council. Rather, his confidence is more comfortable in the background, serving and knowing how to guide with every wave of chaos, controversy, challenge, and impact that is great government. It has not always been easy. COVID turned the world upside down, and we were not immune. The road got very bumpy, and with all great success, there were lessons learned along the way, sometimes difficult ones. We've had our battles, he and I, but mainly we have had conversation about how we could make things better. It was kind of a perfect partnership. Blessed that I could have relationships with people that wanted the same thing: strong community, maintaining a livable place, protecting what was important, evolving along the way. But not just for the sake of change, but because it was right. The moral responsibility of looking after a community is immense, and most of those that walk through the doors of this place understand that commitment. I think, Dave, you climbed the second mountain first: your job, family, faith, and community. And now you have to go to the first peak to focus on you and figure out how to look back on these 50 exceptional years in local government and ask yourself, now what? Which route will I take? Politics? Or I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for trusting me as you have, for helping me help the community, and for all those great conversations that help the community in this place define itself as it has. Your contribution has beyond what we asked of you, and we are better because of your leadership. So take a couple of months or 10, and then we will have another one of those conversations, because lifers like us always have more to talk about when it comes to people, community, and politics. Thanks.
Thank you for that tribute, Councillor Muri. We do have some flowers and stuff, but I think maybe we'll leave that to the end of the meeting at this point. I did just want to say on behalf of all of council, thank you for your dedication to our community. We wish you and Joan and your whole family all the best in your next adventures. But thank you for your commitment to your community. It is appreciated.
We need a wheelbarrow.
There you go.
The gold watch comes later. Yes.
All right. Moving along with this evening's agenda, Council had a look at the agenda, and I'd like to make a recommendation on a consent agenda for this evening's package. A number of the items up for consideration are only up for adoption, which means there's no debate on them. So I would like to propose items 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, 8.6, and 8.7 for adoption. 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, 8.6, and 8.7. It's been seconded by Councillor Back. I don't see anyone wishing to withdraw an item, and any member of council can withdraw an item from the consent agenda for further discussion. Okay, I'm prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're here for items 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, 8.6, or 8.7, they have just passed with the unanimous consent of the council. And item 8.4, as we said at the very beginning of the evening, was withdrawn due to a technical matter, and it'll come back at a future meeting. So I'm going to now carry on with the rest of the agenda, and I believe that brings me to item 8.5, which was not proposed for the consent. It was a split vote the last time this item was considered. This item is Bylaw 8743 OCP Update 2025 OCP Bylaw Amendments. This item is up for adoption. Council has already had their debate on the matter, and so I'll look for a mover. Moved by Councillor Moss, second by Councillor Muri. Prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carries with Councillors Hanson, Pope, and Back opposed. Moving along to item 8.8. In the consent agenda, we passed item 8.7, which was bylaws 8706, 8671, and 8688, which is the official community plan amendment for the Cross residence at 1120 Harold Road. That development is now being considered for its development permit. And so at this
So
time, I'll look to
moved.
staff if there's additional comment on it before we grab a motion.
Good evening, Mayor. I have a very quick introductory remark. Okay, thank you. Good evening. As Council has given the HRA bylaw and all the related bylaws, the final adoption for this heritage infill project, the development permit application is now ready for Council consideration. The DP application follows closely to what is approved at the HRA stage. And included on this site plan, shown in the blue outline, is the historic cross residence. And 3 infill buildings will be surrounding this house, 1 Fountain Harrow Road, and 2 laneway homes at the back, for a total of 6 townhouse units. Staff have evaluated the proposal against applicable DPA, namely the form and character DPA, water energy conservation and GHG emission reduction DPA, and found the application supportable. Overall, as seen from the Harold Road, next slide, the proposal represents a sensitive infill development and fit well into the surrounding site. So therefore, we recommend the issuance of the development permit. Staff and the applicant are here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Council, looking for a motion on the
So
matter?
moved.
Moved by Councillor Murray. Is a second by Councillor Back. Any discussion, Councillor Murray?
This was generally well supported within the neighborhood. You know, there were obviously concerns about, you know, parking and the challenges around, you know, adding density into these areas. But the protection of the cross house was an important move for the community, and I think it will be an attractive development, maintain a piece of our history, and allow an opportunity for gentle density in the single-family neighborhood.
Thank you. Any further comment? Hearing none, prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Next item up for consideration is item 8.9, bylaws 8758, 8759, 8760, liquor store relocation and related zoning bylaw amendments in Edgemont Village. Yan Zhang.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mayor and Council, before you tonight is the proposal to relocate the Edgemont liquor store in the village itself and associated consequential bylaw amendments. Next page, please. Just for background, the orange-colored location is the current location of the liquor store, which is proposed by the license holder to move to the red-colored site, at 3012 Edgemont Boulevard, the Columbus Market site. The white-colored site is the site where the liquor store previously operated. And so the bylaw tonight, thank you for the slide. You can see that in front of your screen there. This is summarized here on this slide. Bylaw 8758 introduced liquor store as a permitted use to the site at 3012 Edgemont, that's shown in red. And then whereas the other 2 bylaws following remove liquor store as a use from those 2 sites, so that there is only 1 site in the village that can operate a liquor store. So this is in keeping with past council policy direction and best practices. So as a reminder, if we can see the next slide, please. Just a reminder of the bylaw process we have taken so far on this proposal. We presented a report seeking council endorsement that no public hearing is held on this set of bylaws. And when we got that endorsement from council, statutory notification then proceeded in accordance with LGA. And then tonight, we are finally able to present the bylaws to you for considerations. So staff recommend all 3 bylaws receive first, second, and third readings.
Thank you for your comments, Yan Zhang. The question I would have, I think it's following on with the earlier comment. So because the liquor store in its current location is an existing use that we're changing tonight, that they can still stay as a legally non-conforming use in that space going forward. And in that regard, the District of North Vancouver is not compelling them to leave their current location and compelling them to go to the new location. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Any member of council wishing to make a motion on this matter? I'll be moving the staff recommendation. Is there a seconder? Second by Councillor Hanson. Yeah, my own questions on this. I'm very glad that we don't have the march on District Hall because of a liquor store in Edgemont Village anymore. The last time this was considered and moved, quite a number of people were concerned about that. And as it stands right now, it's become a part of the community and certainly provides a service for our residents that's very much appreciated. And so I'll be supportive of the recommendation. Councillor Murray?
So why are we being so prescriptive in regards to only allowing one liquor store in Edgemont Village? Is it because of what happened years and years ago when we were going to put this beer and wine store in? It originally started off like that. So why are we being so prescriptive? Isn't competition good?
Mr. Milford.
Your Worship, the district has had a history of site-specific zoning when it comes to the location of liquor stores and cannabis sales, retail sales as well. And the provincial government, layering on top of that zoning control, also specify a 1 kilometer setback between liquor stores. So there is both provincial powers that limit the opportunity for multiple liquor stores within Edgemont, but also we're recommending that we follow the convention that we have in the past of identifying the specific site that council feels is appropriate for liquor, and the bylaws in front of you reflect that historical approach.
So if we didn't cast back to what we did in the past and we just relied on the provincial requirements or legislation, would there be an ability for Edgemont to facilitate more than one?
Your Worship, and no, if it defies the 1 kilometer rule, which is currently
As
in
the
place.
crow
1 kilometer.
flies? Is it as the crow flies?
Yeah, that is correct. The minister, though, also has the minister, actually, the delegated authority goes down to, I think, the liquor
Control board.
control board. I forget the name. There's an official position at liquor control and licensing, liquor and cannabis licensing now, that has authority to waive the 1 kilometer rule for various circumstances. We have seen that in the past, not so much in the district, but in other communities where there is, say, a major physical barrier between the two sites, like a highway or a river. So there are exceptional circumstances where the 1 kilometer rule has been reduced by the province. What staff are essentially recommending is that council continue to have site-specific control. If council wishes, this would be the way to do that through this bylaw amendment.
And just, can you just remind me, and the reason we're moving it out of this building into another one is because
Yes,
out of a brand-new building into a future development application is because?
Operator applied.
yes, the license holder made a request, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Pope.
Thank you very much.
Can I get you to put your microphone right in front of you?
It's not even pointing at.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is that better? I, of course, support the moving of the liquor store. I don't support taking away that license from that block in Edgemont. I think if need be, we should test the province on this because it's silly. Edgemont has grown, and it's growing every day. And why shouldn't Edgemont have 2 liquor stores? We've heard from the owners that leased the building out. They had to go through a huge process to enable a liquor store at that place. They want to be able to retain it to attract another and not go through that arduous process all over again. I was at the liquor store on the weekend and had a very brief chat with the owner. and one of the co-owners. And like outside, the district has put up this huge sign using staff time and resources and everything else to announce that we are, doing this process, and which every single customer that walks into his door now asks, "What's going on? Are you leaving us?" And they're worried. And then down on the corner is another big sign about this process, which I understand is required, but it all seems so burdensome to just enabling business to get on with business. And so I am not supportive of the bylaw, which makes it so that we can't have 2 liquor stores in Edgemont. I am supportive of the other bylaw, enabling them to move it. So I'm not quite sure where that leaves us.
We have the ability to bifurcate the motion, and in effect, just passing bylaw 8758 would do exactly what you have suggested. The effect, though, would be that if provincial policy changes in future, then they'd be automatically able to use the existing space without having to come back to the council in future.
Yeah.
But we can bifurcate, and if there is support for just adding the new location and not altering the 2 old locations, then that would be passing 8758 and not the other 2 pieces, and I can break that out for you at the time that we're voting.
Great idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ma.
I support the move. Everyone knows the history that there was a liquor store nearby the proposed new site at 3012. My main reason for supporting the move is I want to maintain some vibrancy in that area of Edgemont Village, so I'll do what I can to support local retail business. I had some discussion with staff about the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Board's restriction. I support free market and competition. These are the rules right now. Would I support bifurcating? Sure, but if another liquor store were to come, how would that work if it's permitted in that zone? Can I just get clarification on that?
Sure. Through your worship, I believe the scenario requested is if we maintain the zoning at the current location on Connaught.
Yep.
And then also support the rezoning at the corner of Edgemont and West Queens. How would that work? If someone came in and wanted to create a new, so if it was essentially the provincial government just sends a referral to us to confirm zoning. And so if the zoning permitted it, that would be the end of the conversation with the district. And then the province would then use its own rules to evaluate whether or not the liquor license could be located in either of the sites. So really, for liquor stores, the confirmation is really just zoning confirmation. So I think your question kind of speaks to whether or not council would be involved in there being 2 liquor stores. And the answer is no. If the zoning is already in place, council wouldn't get a referral and be asked to comment, provided the zoning is acceptable.
But the province would still need to waive its geographic protection.
That's correct.
How do we feel about 2 liquor stores? I'm fine with competition. I think Edgemont is a mature enough retail area that it can support 2, and the market would decide if the second one is successful or not. So if the motion, is the motion right now as is, or are we having another motion to bifurcate?
I will break it up into 3 already.
Okay.
But to be clear, none of the options approves a second liquor store in Edgemont Village.
Right.
That would just put that decision entirely into the hands of the province. They wouldn't have to come to us for clarification on the zoning at a future date. But I take your point.
They would not have to come. I thought they would have to do a referral.
Well,
Okay.
Mr. Milburn?
The referral is simply to confirm zoning. So if the site zoning permits the use, then it would be accepted from the district's perspective. So if you had multiple sites, the applicant would be able to choose amongst them. Again, the province, though, still has their own evaluative rules for the location of liquor stores, in addition to zoning.
So I'm just trying to remember the aspects of the bylaw. There was another amendment to remove liquor store use from a couple doors down from, okay. I'll wait to see what motion you put forward, because there's now potentially 3 locations.
Your worship, if we can maybe just ask staff to bring up that same map to show you which bylaw corresponds to which property,
Right.
I think that might help clarify the question being asked.
When I break it out at the vote, I'll make sure that we do
Okay.
that, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Hanson?
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to support the moving of this liquor store, and I'm also pleased to support the leaving of the other 2 sites zoned for liquor store, and the provincial government wants to allow it, then they can do so. From my point of view, rules such as you can't have 2 liquor stores within 1 kilometer, perhaps somewhat antiquated, out of date, treating liquor perhaps in a way that isn't current to our modern view of things. So I'm happy to support that. I also make the observation that this is an awful lot of process to move 1 liquor store 3 blocks. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just add some more of my own comments on this. So that generally was my position at the time we waived the public hearing, was just saying, why on earth are we removing the old designation? Isn't it simpler to leave it? So I don't have an issue with that. But I am kind of curious, while we have the opportunity, do they treat public liquor stores differently on the geographic exclusion? Because in Lynn Valley, we have 2 right across the street from each other, with a cold beer and wine private on the north side of Lynn Valley Road, right across from a full-on BC Liquor cold zone store at the shopping center site.
Your worship, yes, the provincial government retains discretion to control where they locate their facilities. The discussion we're having tonight is about licensee retail stores, which are the private liquor stores. And I would say the provincial government has the ability to change the 1 kilometer rule at any time as well. That's up at their discretion. Fundamentally, it comes down to, does council want to use zoning to control in this way, or leave it more permissive? That's the key question. Yeah.
Next question I would have would be, the province about, 7 or 8 years ago tried to open up the requirements a little bit and make it a little easier to get them, particularly in grocery stores. Are they treated as, even though they are private liquor stores, are they treated as different? Because I believe Save-On Foods is trying to implement them across their system, and yet there's already an existing different private liquor store license at almost all of the locations.
Yes, yeah, your worship, yeah, that's correct. So the specialty wine store and then the grocery store, liquor store, they're exempt from that distancing requirement.
So you could already, with our existing regulations, see a grocery store one pop up with the liquors, with the wine specialty, or a public liquor store pop up, and there would be no request for counsel in those matters. Is that correct?
I think we have to look into I think that is the case with the specialty wine store, which could follow under the retail use. But for the liquor store within the grocery store, I think I have to look into that. Just.
Okay. Councillor Ma.
I had a conversation with one of the retail owners in Edgemont, and we were talking about trying to make sure that we have the right mix and, to ensure that the village remains a destination shopping area. Nothing against banks and doctor's office, we need them, but there's quite a few there. Looking at this map now, I probably wouldn't support 3 in that area. But that's just trying to ensure that not one type of business dominates an area. But, okay, I know.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Pope. Is your microphone on?
Sorry. Follow-up. Would that current license, if we didn't touch it, would it not only, would it enable another liquor store, but would it also potentially enable a little brewery or wine, what am I trying to say? Tasting room or some other form of alcoholic beverage being served?
Your worship, the answer is no, because under LCRB regulation, those are totally different uses. Those would be restaurant or other food primary or liquor primary is different than liquor store. And so this is, we're strictly talking about liquor store.
So does that mean we'd have to change the zoning anyway, if it came?
And it's a different type of license.
Yes, all those would be going through the provincial referral back to us, and then we would process them in accordance with the zoning regulation, and then have the final decision up to the province.
Mr. Milburn.
Your worship, I'm just trying to anticipate the concern. What we're proposing is to remove liquor license use from the list of permitted uses in the specific zone on Connaught, but all the other uses permitted in the zone would still be allowed to continue. So we're not suggesting that there be no use on the property, or it's simply removing that one use from the list of permitted uses.
Okay.
Sorry.
Further, if I'm hearing you right, if we enabled it to continue with its liquor store license, then it would have to just be that. It couldn't as well be other things, apart from restaurants or whatever that requires special zoning.
Depends what's in its existing zoning, but if you're changing the use, it would be a new rezoning on the property.
Yeah. So the applicant who owns the license itself, the liquor license, has applied to relocate.
Right.
If council chooses not to support the relocation, for example, they would look for other alternatives, I assume, to either stay at their existing location or move elsewhere. But in terms of the opportunity, if they do relocate, so they apply and they receive council and liquor licensing approval to relocate, the existing tenancy, the property where they exist, and council removes liquor store from the list of permitted uses, all the other uses permitted in the zone would be allowed to occur on that property, subject, of course, to limitations of the zone. Yeah.
Okay.
It was actually the flip side of that. If we allowed that to continue as a liquor store, can it also then continue with other uses, a retail store of some sort, or other types of uses that may not serve alcohol?
That is correct.
Yes, thank you. Okay, that's all I needed clarification.
Councillor Ma.
Sorry, I know it's my third time, but I just want clarification and give staff an opportunity to elaborate on this. If I can ask the staff, are there any consequences, any impact on our other areas? Because if we allow Bylaw 8760 to, if we don't pass that and we allow liquor store use to stay in the CD90, what are the consequences potentially in other areas or other parts of the district? Is there any, if this sets a precedence, is this going to open up other liquor store applications in other areas potentially? Like, I just want to understand.
A response from staff?
Yeah, Your Worship, I would say that there probably wouldn't be a significant impact to any other. This one is a CD zone, so it allows liquor store as a use, but, you know, I think I wouldn't say there is any potential impact to any other neighborhood. Because I think the most important thing to keep in mind is that the provincial has a regulation in terms of distancing requirements. And, you know, likely that will not permit, likely that will not permit the oversaturation of liquor stores in the area.
Okay. I see no further speakers. I'm prepared to separate this into 3 parts. And so the first one I'm asking for your support of, and just to be clear, none of the 3 parts are contingent on any of the other 3 parts. You can vote for or against any of the parts. They don't require each other to go ahead. And so the first one I'm going to ask is, do you support the new location that District of North Vancouver Rezoning Bylaw 1457, Bylaw 8758 is given first, second, and third reading? This is just on the new location. And I moved it already. Is there a seconder on the matter? Second? Oh, it was Jim actually on the original. Okay, we'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. On the second item, so this is on the the old site that we're not using anymore for this purpose. We're cleaning up the zoning or not cleaning up the zoning on it, but it is not currently a site and it is not proposed for a site. This is the former site. So the second clause is, and that District North Vancouver Rezoning Bylaw 1458, Bylaw 8759 is given first, second, and third reading on the former site and cleaning up the legislation. I've already moved it. Is there a seconder on that matter? Second. Okay. I'm going to call the question on removing the use off of the old site that is not currently active as a liquor store. It's been moved and seconded. Prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is defeated with Councillors Forbes, Murray, Hanson, Pope, and Back opposed. Okay, and so to clear that up is the old former site now still has that in their uses on the site. The third piece is about the current site. So this is the Connaught site at the top. This is the site where the liquor store is currently being operated. So the clause is, and that District North Vancouver Rezoning Bylaw 1459, Bylaw 8760 is given first, second, and third reading. So this is to remove the designation from the current site. I've moved it. Is there a seconder on the matter? Okay, no seconder. It dies. It's dead. It's done. And so just to wrap up what's happened there, the use has been added to the new site at the south end down at the bottom of Edgemont Village, and the old uses are still on the books in the old locations, and nothing has changed with those sites. So the applicant can move to the new location or stay in their existing location, or at some future date, they can go to the former location. They still have that available to them as well. All right, I just wanted to clear that all up fully. Okay. Moving along to item 810, detailed rezoning application 1578 to 1590 Hunter Street. Sorry, the applicant. Staff first or applicant first? Okay. Yeah. So we do have a member of the public that signed up to speak at this item, and so I don't have the name in front of me. There we go. Dana Gilbert, joining us here in person. Welcome. That's just public input. When you're comfortable, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
If I was to plug this in.
Below the edge of the desk in front of you, down, yeah, you're almost there. Yeah, if you fire it in, it should pop up on the computer's desktop. There's some assistance behind you there if you'd like.
I think he did it. I did it wrong?
No, I think he did right. Is this it?
Yes. And it's just the one PDF that's there.
Okay. Hopefully that works.
Perfect. Let me just reduce this. Apparently Adobe's never been used on this computer before. I don't need a free trial. Sorry, I hope this doesn't count towards my 3 minutes. Is that presentation screen?
Should be fine.
Okay, and then do I press with these arrows? Great. Okay,
Welcome. You have 3 minutes to address council.
thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening, Mayor Little and members of council. My name is Dana Gilbert. I'm the Managing Director of Real Estate Development at Forum, and I'm here on behalf of Forum Asset Management alongside our partners at Lotus Capital to speak about our purpose-built student accommodation, or PBSA, proposal at 1578 and 1590 Hunter Street. Forum is the largest owner, operator, and developer of student housing in Canada, with 11,200 beds across the country and 7,500 in the pipeline. This is what we do best, along with all forms of rental housing. We are long-term hold owners, professional property management, and leasing and support staff. With a 400,000 bed shortfall across this country of student housing, we strive to serve students and universities with their demand needs. The project is the first off-campus dedicated student housing development in the District of North Vancouver. A 24-story or 25 with amenity space, approximately 485-unit building designed specifically for Capilano University students. Ryan Blades is here if you have any question for him as well, as a representative from Capilano University. The project will deliver modern, efficient, fully furnished, self-contained, professionally managed housing with approximately 15,000 square feet of amenity space, all within walking distance and biking distance of CapU, rapid transit, while alleviating pressure on traditional housing market. We are pleased that the project received unanimous support from the Advisory Design Panel, or ADP, in early September, which commended the design, its height, form, transition to the surrounding neighborhood, and street character. The Commons recognize how effectively the building responds to its surrounding context, the site, and particularly neighboring tall towers, the future green spine, and the transition from high to mid-rise scale and low-rise scale, while stipulating the site was designed appropriately and sensitively to the neighborhood. As included within the report, Capilano University provided a formal letter of support, if you were able to review, which underscored the urgency of student housing for upper year students off campus. Their new on-campus residents will provide 360 beds, but demand far exceeds that supply. This project adds an additional approximately 485 beds, helping Capilano surpass 800 student beds, relieving pressure both on students and on the broader North Shore rental market. Important to note is that CapU's Dollarton off-campus 300-bed housing building will be closing, one that has a 200-student waitlist, creating an immediately 500-bed need that this project will address. If the time ever comes that student numbers decrease, there are close to 19,000 young people between the ages of 20 to 39. I have 2 seconds left. Wow. Are you sure? Okay, thank you so much. With 19,000 people between the ages of 20 to 39 living in the district per 2021 StatsCan census, who could greatly benefit from this housing if needed and only if needed. As I said, PBSA is a direct community benefit and is a form of affordable housing defined by the province in the More Housing Now mandate. The proposed units, along with social affordability as well as seniors housing. The proposed units are efficiently designed, and as such, they are inherently attainable. They're all-inclusive, offering in their size, all furniture is included, utilities, amenities, both indoor and outdoor spaces, amenities that foster community, interaction, and a sense of place, well-being,
How much
and
time do
connection.
you need to wrap up?
Probably longer than you're going to give me, which is okay. So,
Then, so just to be clear about where
Yes.
we're at in the process.
Understood.
This is just to give early direction to staff on whether to proceed with some potential changes. There would still be, if this is the proposal, there would still be OCP and rezoning, which would have full public hearings with opportunities for the applicants to
100%.
share the presentation.
That the applicants here, could we ask 2 questions, namely the proposed size of these units, and secondly, the proposed monthly price?
I think that's fair. I think staff also has that information, but
I didn't hear it in the presentations.
Well, I would have gotten there. Sorry. It was way too long. So the size of the units or the size of the building?
How much space are you giving students to live in, and how much are you charging them for that space?
So each of the units is a range of sizes. The
Well, you
smallest,
when we were together, you showed me two sizes.
the smallest is the junior suite studio, which is 150 square feet. And there's a studio that's 200, 220, 250, 2 beds and 3 range larger than that.
Just for the 150 and the 225, what's the price on those? Because that's relevant, I suggest, to our
So it
discussions today.
will be market at the time that this is built. Once it's approved, and then construction will take 3 years. Studio units in the district are around 500 square feet, no furnishing, no utilities, and no amenities that are included within that, all-inclusive as well. And these units will be 20 to 30% cheaper than what's on market.
Could you give us a monthly figure for the 150 and the 225?
Can't give that, like, this building will not be built for, only if approved at the end of, only if approved next year. It'll still take 3 years to build. So the market will be very different in the next 3 to 4 years.
When we were together, you quoted a figure like 2,000 a month. Is that?
That's what generally is that is what is on the market for right now without furnishing being included.
So 2,000 a month
us.
for 150 square
So
feet?
right now, a studio at 500 square feet with no all-inclusive furnishing, or any of the all-inclusive, is $2,000 a month in the DMV.
And you're saying that it would be 20 to 30%?
let's get back in order here. Hold on a sec. I'm going to come to you next. I just want to be clear. So, Councillor Hanson, you were the first up.
I'm done.
Are you moving a particular option at this point, or would you like me to carry on the conversation and see if someone else has a motion? The staff recommendation is option 2, which is that the item be revised. And so you're not supportive of it at the current, I believe it's specifically density, but the current makeup. Is there a seconder for that option 2 as the motion? I'll support option 2 as the motion. But we'll carry on with the discussion. I'll go straight to you. Sorry, Councillor Hanson, if you're completed with your remarks, I'll go on to Councillor Pope. Councillor Pope, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just had a few clarifying questions.
If I can get your microphone right in front of you again, sorry.
Few questions I want to ask her as well before my time starts, like Councillor Hanson did.
You can ask questions.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And so we were in the middle of getting to, so it would be 20 to 30% less of market, which in today's numbers is 2,000 without furnishings, but 500 square feet.
The studios in the market are 500. These are inherently more attainable because they're 150 to 200 square feet, and that's the smallest of the 2 options. Fully furnished, self-contained, all utilities included, and all of the amenities within the building.
Yeah.
But those are the extras on terms of savings.
And the one other thing I wanted clarity on was that in the proposal, it says that it's exclusively for CAP U students.
Correct.
But then in your presentation, you also said if the market shifts and there's not enough students, that actually it could be open to youth, or how does that work?
So for us, one of the comments that came in the staff report, and so that comment was to address some of the staff report comments that were before this council, is that in the event that if Capilano U has lower student count, we would always want to house students. We would always want to house Capilano U students, but in times of difficulty, we could house youth. It would always be rental. It would be still professionally managed and leased, but that is just an option that we can explore at that time. The intention is always to house exclusive for Capilano U students.
Okay, thank you. And I would actually just like to go to my comments now. I do not support this motion. I'm very supportive of building this project. Student housing is urgently needed. It adds 485 beds. And in building it, that location will provide many benefits to the community. The Sealand community and indeed the district will be well served by an injection of youth. CapU, I note, is also very supportive and noting that purpose-built student housing reduces pressure on the local rental market by freeing up affordable units that would otherwise be rented by students. That's a quote from CapU. It will also bring hundreds of employable students closer to local businesses and reduce long-distance commuting to campus. And so, again, we know we have a terrible congestion problem, and thousands of students are commuting every day across the bridge to get there.
May I just say, Councillor Pope, so I just want to be clear, we would still have a public hearing in future, so I just want to keep your comments amenable to persuasion and open to it, but that your general intent is to suggest that the staff proceed on this project at this early stage. Is that fair?
That's a fair interpretation. Okay. I just don't, I'm trying to emphasize my reasons for not supporting the current motion before us. So I think we need to get moving as soon as possible to address all these needs of students. And I'm not wanting to see this delayed. I'm, at this point, open to change, but I don't have a problem with micro units, especially if they are exclusively to students. I'll again remind this council that my first condo was 375 square feet. I lived there for 8 years. It was wonderful. And students, they want a small space that's nice. This is filled with amenities that they will make it such a livable community. So I think this situation is different and calls for exception in the OCP. However, the one thing I'm very concerned about here is affordability. And so I would like to see some movement on that. I would like to see the FSR increased, but I'm wanting to, at that same time, make sure that affordable housing is included and that students who aren't wealthy, and let's face it, most aren't, will be able to afford to live there too. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. That's my caveat in supporting it.
Thank you. Councillor Back.
Thank you, Mayor Little. I wonder if the applicant or maybe staff could address the issue of CAC, because it was stated in the report that we don't have enough information at this point to calculate it, but there would be a significant CAC, as I understand it, attached to this. Wondering if I could get some comment on that.
Yes, through your worship, to Councillor Back, so we haven't even entered into the CAC negotiation stage yet because as much as we support student housing, the density is significantly beyond the OCP maximum density limit. So we're kind of needing some council direction before we proceed into the CAC negotiation, which would have a significant implication on affordability component.
Your worship, just to add to that, I believe the comment...
Nice and loud into the microphone, please.
Yeah, I believe that the comment was that this would generate a significant CAC. I don't think we know the answer to that question at this point. Whether or not there would be any CAC contribution whatsoever, it would depend on the pro forma analysis undertaken at the time, based on the limited population that would be renting, so that the value of a rental unit can be diminished by the types of tenants that would be eligible to enter into the facilities. And I think that's why clarification on these questions that I heard tonight, I took notes. Student housing is the primary focus. However, it sounds like there's a desire for some adaptability based on changing conditions to support housing for youth, I believe was the term used.
Sorry,
And
so-
clarification would be helpful because that's something that of course would be needed before this matter could be back before council through a housing agreement. Thank you.
Of course. So let me just clarify, and through you, Your Worship, and members of council, and to you, Mr. Milburn, the intention is always to be exclusively for student housing, and Capilano University students exclusively. The reason why I made that one sentence and then finished off in very middle of my paragraph is because it was a concern of what happens if in 20 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, because we have all seen some changes with our Prime Minister, international students, whatever it is, what happens if there's a softening? If it's not exclusively Capilano University, we would house university students and college students as well. Our intent is always to house student, but there was a concern as to what happens if, for whatever reason, there isn't students any longer to house. And so for us, we are always looking at rental, and we are always looking at providing housing. The intention is always to house exclusively Capilano U students, as well as students in a circumstance in which the housing market shifts rapidly over the next 20, 30, 40 years.
Councillor Back?
Yes, thank you very much. All of us around this council table have been given the opportunity to learn more about this project. Some of us have taken advantage of that and have had an opportunity to get more familiar with what's being proposed. I'm glad that it's being discussed here at council tonight. I know that it's been a challenge to get it to this stage. And I think part of that is because this is a very unique category of housing. We haven't seen it in the district and really in our region. And I think while it's unique, it also presents a huge opportunity. So I want to begin by saying that I'm very supportive of student housing as well, and I see the need, and I agree with all the comments of my council colleague, Councillor Pope, in terms of the benefits that housing students here in our community would have. Very much a net positive. But let's start by being transparent about what's obvious and what's causing the hesitation from staff. This exceeds our OCP density in a significant way, and we shouldn't pretend otherwise. But student housing is a unique category, and we've never dealt with this before. Students have different needs, students have different impacts and different benefits. So I think we need to treat it as a unique category and be open to considering the sort of exception that this would require to advance I think multiple council objectives by approving, or at least being open, I should say, to a project like this. Impacts, benefits like the impact to transportation, as was touched on. You think of the many CAPU students who are coming from across the bridge every day. It would obviously be a positive impact to having them living closer to campus. I really see the local economy benefit in terms of housing students here in the district, in that part of the community. I think of the part-time workers that it would generate for so many of the local businesses who all say they need staff. I think students are a strong fit. So I guess tonight it's important for everyone to understand that we wouldn't be approving anything. What we're asking is for this to come forward in a formal way, which I think has been the goal all along from the applicant, just to be able to consider this and take it through a process. I think there's still work to do on this application. I still think that we need to look at some of the things that have been highlighted in the staff's comments. But I would say overall, I am supportive of moving this into a detailed application, which would then require first reading, a public hearing, and really getting to hear from the community, both the student community and the broader community. So I would like staff to continue to work with this applicant to address some of the things like the massing and the design and transportation impacts, all of the concerns that were highlighted in the report. I see the OCP issue clearly. I also see the benefits just as clearly. So I do think this proposal is worth advancing. Also want to remind council that we were sent a more recent letter from what was included in the package from the interim president of Capilano University, just talking about the benefits of this project and kind of why, with the winding down of the Dollarton housing, why it needs to move forward in a more timely manner. As well, it was highlighted, the support from the advisory design panel. So I think there's lots of benefits here, and it's a unique project, but I think one that we should be open to.
Just some of my own comments on the matter. I do think that we need to go back and have the discussion now about what we're willing to accept as far as the OCP amendment and FSR question. I don't think that can wait. I don't think I'd be willing to go to a public hearing on it at the density that it's at. And so I think that we have to have that discussion first. I have so many questions about it. I mean, it was great to go and visit the site. Thank you so much for touring me around and seeing the facility itself. I think the units are very smartly designed, and I don't have an issue with the size of the units. I do have a lot of questions, which I've expressed to you before, about the housing agreement and making sure that the tricky situation we have here is that it's not on-campus housing with a head lease from the university. And so how do you impose the school's policies on an off-campus facility that the university isn't the head lease on? And so I know that that is going to be a legal discussion about a housing agreement at some point in future. I'm not aware of anywhere in the province of BC where that has actually happened. And so it will be novel. It will be something we're going to have to work through and figure out how to address. Because I think it's an absolutely cornerstone piece that this is student housing. And I'm willing to do a lot of exemptions. I'm willing to bend on a lot of things if I'm absolutely confident that this is only for students. Under 6'2", I think, is what I experienced in the bed. But we'll have to, the modular furniture wasn't exactly for 6'4" people. But I think the units themselves are actually very smartly designed, and I can imagine being relatively comfortable in there. The bathrooms are one-to-one for the students. They all have their own private space in there. The kitchens are actually rather ample in terms of their amenities and functions. That I could see it being a very functional space, and also the common property pieces are also something that I think is quite interesting. Transportation is still a challenge. That shuttle that goes from Phibbs Exchange to Cap U can't stop at this site. It wouldn't be an effective stop. And the reason for that is that bus is 100% full by the time it drives past your property. And so, and that's for a broad period of the peak hour in the morning. There's a 45-minute lineup of students waiting outside. And so at the time the shuttle drives past your property, there's 0 seats in the bus. And if we allowed the stops there, then it would again be advantageous to get on at your property heading south into Phibbs Exchange so that you would be able to have a seat to skip the 45-minute line to go back up, which was one of the problems with the shuttle in the first place, is that it was easier for people to get on the bus and go over to Kootenay Loop in Burnaby, then switch on the Phibbs Exchange bus, and then ride through up until Capilano University. And so the transportation and shuttle piece is critically important. Yeah, it takes you about 25 minutes to walk up there in great weather, but the school year we have to plan for other things. And so I am looking for a broader discussion about transportation solutions, maybe a specific shuttle from the site that's funded by the facility, maybe something that has to be considered, because I don't know how you can waive all of the parking and not have a TransLink public transportation plan that's going to address the site. So we're going to have to come up with something there. But I do think that going up to such a high FSR, and admittedly, the property to the north is open space with the MOTI property, which is unlikely to be developed. And so at 24 stories, it's not going to look entirely out of place because the neighbors are all tall buildings as well. But it's something we need to discuss and deeper discussion about why staff are extremely uncomfortable with it going so significantly higher than the proposed density. So at this point, and I may be convinced otherwise at a later point along the way, but at this point, I'm supportive of the revise and having a deeper discussion about it. And that's not to say that that means I'm rock solid hard on, it's going to be 4.5 FSR as a maximum. It just means I want to get these other things sorted out while we have the ability to make those changes. So I'll be supporting the motion that's on the floor at this time. Next speaker I have is Councillor Ma.
Thank you. I've met with the applicant a few times and have toured the display suites. I also know that CapU is very supportive of the project, and that's critical. I had an opportunity recently to speak with the former president, Paul Dangerfield, and he is very supportive of this project. And this on a higher level, strategic level, I think the district needs to closer embrace CapU and its students. CapU is in our own backyard. It's a world-class school, and we don't really do enough with them. So that's a separate issue. Back to the housing. There's no debate that there's a need for it, and the desire by DNV to have student accommodation in the Lynn Creek Town Center. I also don't have an issue with the size of the units, because primarily they're not their forever, the students' forever home. And I also believe that students can put up with a lot, and the units are quite smartly designed. I don't want to say no to this project. However, I appreciate the staff's concerns. So what I'm saying, not yet. There's still some work that needs and should be done. I believe there's enough common ground here, and hopefully with additional discussions, we'll get to that place. So I encourage the applicant to work with our staff to find that solution. So at this point, I will support the motion, which is to revise.
Thank you. Councillor Hansen's the second time.
I don't think I spoke the first time. I just asked a question. I never.
We don't actually have a separate question time, but carry on.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'll address that. The point is to get council's feedback on this, because we need to be able to inform the staff response to it. And so I'll be a little flexible on this, and go ahead, councillor.
Yeah, thank you. And I will give my feedback. And the reason I ask those questions is because the potential market price for these units is very relevant to what my feedback is going to be. Thank you to the applicant for their presentation. Thank you for touring me through the suites. Thank you to all my council colleagues for their comments. I absolutely support student housing. I've spoken out for student housing at CapU for a long time. And I believe that what's good for CapU, student housing is good for CapU, and what's good for CapU is good for the district. As Councillor Moss said, it's in our interest to have a strong CapU and with good housing. And I also see, as Councillor Pope pointed out, there is an alignment here between our housing goals and our transportation goals, because there's a lot of people moving back and forth across the bridge to get to CapU that are students. My concern is allowing this exceptional density without any accommodation for affordability. And I'm open, let me say, I'm open to the higher density. I'll entertain that. But before I look at that higher density, I want to see some real affordability. The numbers that our community, and it may be market rents, I appreciate that. It's market rents, but they're staggering numbers in terms of what we're proposing to be charged for brand new micro units in this location for housing for students. These are very high costs. And what would be good for CapU is to ensure that there's some affordable student housing in this location, to broaden out the range of possibilities for people, that people of more limited means can actually access CapU and education at CapU. That's what's good for CapU, that's what's good for the district, and that's what's good for our community. So I'm voting in favor of number 2, the comeback revise. Let me say in that I'm very open-minded. What I want to see is some affordability component in this proposal. And that's the lens through which I am going to be viewing the proposal as it comes forward. So those are my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Hanson. Councillor Murray.
Thank you. I wasn't able to tour the units, but that's not to say I wouldn't be interested in the future.
You're welcome anytime.
Yeah, there's so many questions. This is kind of an unusual way to submit an application this dense. Obviously, staff have significant concerns about traffic and transportation and the slightly gray area between what happens when it doesn't work. I was reading the application that you submitted to the municipality of Burnaby that was rejected because of their minimum size requirements, partly in regards to the unit size. And then the site that was chosen had some environmental challenges. I was curious why the micro units in the district are 155 and they were looking at 235 or 255 in Burnaby.
Through you, Mayor Little. So Burnaby is a 4-acre site. It's going to be 4 buildings over 2 phases. First phase being PBSA. When it went to Burnaby, one of the things that was different about that is it went to Planning and Development Committee, was endorsed, then went to City Council, and City Council, it was only endorsing and or asking to continue to process the application as is. It was not a first reading, it was not, we hadn't had a public hearing, it was none of that. We are fully compliant to the OCP in Burnaby. And the only thing that needed to be amended was the minimum unit sizes because their zoning bylaw, like many other municipalities across BC, has traditional rental minimum unit sizes. And the only thing close to student housing that is similar to PBSA is dormitory style and or sleeping units is what it's classified as. And so we were compliant to all policy and planning regimes in that particular application. It was the minimum unit size that we had to get the amendment from the zoning. And so dormitory there, and what a dormitory means is common bathrooms, common kitchen facilities, and some small working areas, whereas sleeping units are just, you get a bed and you have multiple roommates. So they didn't have a use category for us to implement PBSA, and that also allows us to build the efficient units that some of you have toured, and more than happy to have you at any time. Offer is always open.
Oh, so did they vote against the
They
application?
voted that it goes back for processing. It was still in a processing of the application. It was not a first reading. There was no decision in front of them.
Okay, thank you so much. So I do have obviously the same concerns that are being shared around the table as far as the significant departure from the OCP's density. Exactly what happens when there isn't volume. Are we not already building several hundred student housing units, one that received a building permit today, I believe, one project on Monashee, Darwin's project, and then the project that's happening in the parking lot at Cap University where are we with that? Is it almost completed?
And Yan Zhang?
1310 Monashee, that is the private initiated rezoning right across from the CAPU campus. That one, we're going to bring forward development permit application for your consideration soon in the future. And I believe the other one is the on-campus student housing, right?
And is that one almost done, the on-campus student house? So is there somebody here that could maybe answer?
Mr. Blades?
Can you come? You'll have to come down.
I need to get you on a
Sorry.
microphone. I got to put you on a microphone, so.
Sorry.
It's as scary as you think it is.
I can speak to our on-campus student housing.
And so is that almost complete?
Yes, it's under construction. We're hoping to be open September 2026.
Oh, great. And there's 380
how many beds?
362 beds?
362 beds, right, okay. All right, and that's just absolutely for all, only CAP University students?
Yes, that's
Right,
correct.
okay. We have had, so that's my question, thank you. Sorry for making you walk down the long gauntlet. You did very well, very well. Yeah, so there's an enormous amount of questions, and we have been supportive of student housing over the years. We created a very complicated agreement with a developer many years ago with units within the development application, completely fell apart. We have another agreement we hope won't fall apart. And then the certainty of the housing on the parking lot at Cap College is certain. It will be for students. The number of the rental amount concerns me. I took international students for many years, 15 years I hosted them. You know, in my house, they got a house and a bed and a bathroom and for, you know, and they paid $1,400 and they had 3 meals a day.
Mm-hmm.
Is food included?
No.
No. So, you know, the affordability is a real issue, and I think the changes within the federal government right now is shifting, you know, the need, the drop with short-term rentals being, the legislation being revised has certainly impacted the market, and there's a lot to consider. There's a lot to consider. I would have been more comfortable with referring this back to staff because I think you need to ask the questions before you begin to get staff to, and right now we're actually asking them to look at a 4.65 SFR, 4.5 FSR, rather than sending it back to staff to look at the questions and concerns and issues that I think we all have, and this very sort of unusual approach to an application of this size. So I guess we'll see what happens with your motion, but I think we always do want to have a discussion about student housing, but it seems very, very dense. You know, if it didn't work and you were focusing on university students, then we're having university students from SFU potentially crossing the bridge, and we're having enough problem getting them here already, let alone adding to more congestion because of housing. You know, we have insufficient infrastructure to support the density that we're already dealing with right now. So this is a big one that we have lots of questions about.
Thank you. Councillor Forbes, first time speaker.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for your presentation. I'm sorry, I'm also one of the ones that didn't make it on your tour, but I'd love to in the future if it goes forward here. I'm not going to make a lot of comments because they've already been made. I'm also concerned that it's not compliant density-wise or form and character with our OCP or the Lynn Creek plan. I am concerned also about what the mayor mentioned about legal when it's an off-campus unit. What kind of responsibilities go there, or are the students themselves or solely responsible if they do something they shouldn't do? So I'd just like a little more information on that. Also, the affordability factor. We're always talking about affordability, but especially for students. And also the transportation issue of you're on the other side of sort of the highway, so you have to get to Phibbs and then you have to get up, and that's always been a problem, and I don't know what you can do about it in your situation, but I'm certainly willing to listen. Student housing is needed. I think you've heard all of us around the table are in that favor, but I kind of would have liked to have referred it back to staff, but I think there's enough generalities in the revise, the number 2, because it does go on to say, it talks about the density, and it's also saying key issues of building design, site access, below market housing, along with other rezoning stage issues identified by staff. So I would be in favor of the motion, number 2.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Pope.
I have a question, which is, in the application, the ask is for 6.28 FSR. How viable would it be to go down to 4.5?
Through you, Mayor Little, to you, Councillor Pope, not that viable. So one of the things is that the density is misleading. The site is small. We have the green spine that's to the west of us. We have a laneway that is owned by the district to the north of us, and then we have Orwell. So it is constrained in terms of its site size. The podium itself has been revised based on comments to 4 stories, so it's a very pedestrian level scale, and the tower itself is actually shaped as an L. It's intended to be shaped as an L for its efficiency, and also its slim nature to make sure that it respects views. In order to get to a 4.5, that 485 bed number would come down significantly, and it wouldn't meet the needs of Capilano University, and I can't clearly state more that this is exclusive for Capilano U University students, and that is 100% the intent. So it's going to be taking away GFA or beds, trying to get down to 4.5. And I know it's at 24 stories right now. Beside us is 30 stories, and then 34 stories just to the west. So it's in keeping with the transitioning down. Bringing it, what would have to happen is not reducing the podium, it would have to be reducing the height. And every single floor of that L tower is 10 units, which is multiple beds. It's not just micros and nanos. We have 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms. So if roommates want to be housed with their own bathroom and a self-contained kitchen, that is based on their affordability range as well. And that's how we offer affordability throughout the building as well. So it's going to be difficult.
And we would potentially be losing hundreds of student
Maybe
units.
100, yeah.
So given that, I would like to propose a friendly amendment to the motion that's on the floor. I'm wondering if we can just delete the actual number of 4.5, and so it would then say, revise their application to lower the density and delete to a maximum of 4.5, and just carry on to address key issues. So we are indicating to staff and the applicant that we would like to see the density lowered and these other issues revised, but we're not having a hard and fast number on it, because what I'm hearing from the rest of council is we all would really like to see student housing. We're just, a little stuck on that. But I don't want to put us at risk of losing this project or having it shelved or having it reduced by hundreds of units because we can't figure out some middle ground. So that's my amendment.
So I'll find that amendment to be in order. It's not in collision with the original. It doesn't entirely change the meaning of the original. So there's an amendment that's been proposed. Is there a seconder for the amendment? Seconded by Councillor Hanson. Discussion on the amendment. Okay.
The amendment is to, what's the amendment?
Is to remove the 4.5 and just say that the direction is that staff are to work with it, is to find a lower number. They're not satisfied with the current, but it doesn't direct them to a specific FSR.
Isn't that the option that council consideration of the application is presented to be deferred until after policy work is done to assess opportunities and challenges relating to a new OCP density limit? I mean, how we have to amend the density of the OCP. There's multiple things that we would have to do to accommodate this. So there's so many questions. I mean,
Deferral is materially different as a motion, and so it's not deferral.
That council is not supportive of the application as presented and request the applicant revise their application.
Your microphone's folded down. We can't hear you.
Sorry. That council is not supportive of the application as it's presented and request the applicant revise their application to lower the density and to address key issues of building design, site access, and below market housing.
Correct. That's the proposed, yeah.
So lower the density to what? Like 6.2 or 6 or, yes, that's the problem, right? So, I think the applicant has already gone to the planning department. They've had significant challenges with the application. So it's been suggested to the applicant that they come directly to us. And now we don't really know what we're going to be talking about. So is it just going to end up coming back because there's not a meeting of the minds? I think if there was, we wouldn't be doing this. So
I think the applicant is probably taking from the conversation that the current FSR is not acceptable, and that we want to see a further discussion about ways to address a few issues, including the FSR on the
but
site.
staff is recommending 4.5, and now that could go up. So then how does that, how do we square that?
Order. It's just that staff can sit down and talk with the applicant about possible alternatives on the site and come back to council with them.
Haven't they already done that, though?
I would say staff's recommendation was that they don't agree with what the applicant has decided to come forward with. So I think what you're sensing here, in the vast majority of cases, when we have a development that comes forward, it typically has a staff recommendation. As long as it's in the ballpark of the OCP or the zoning, it typically has a staff recommendation in favor. And so I think reading between the lines here is they've had the discussion and the applicant has decided that they want to test it with council at the full density without the endorsement from staff. And so.
And there is a staff recommendation, but it's beyond.
My understanding of the amendment as presented is that they would go back to staff and have a further discussion about it. And it would probably be perilous to come back with it exactly the same way it is today, based on the discussion that I've heard.
What's the maximum density, Mr. Milburn, on that site?
It's the maximum OCP density.
Yeah, it's 2.5 FSR, RES 6.
It's it's a massive departure from what we've been planning, and this is the challenge. So, all right, well, those are my thoughts.
If I could speak.
I do have Councillor Back signed up.
sorry.
Or sorry, that's from the old list?
I was on the second, but he seconded the.
There you go. Go for it. Councillor Hanson, go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I agree with the amendment. From my point of view, it's a balancing off and a weighing of benefits to CAPU and a weighing of benefit to the community. And so I'm looking for that deep affordability component. That's my dominant consideration. And I think leaving the FSR flexible makes sense, because what I'm going to be looking for is there units that are actually affordable to people that want to go to CAPU that are of limited means and aren't bankrolled by wealthy parents. That's what I'm going to be looking for. So thank you. Councillor
Pope next, or Councillor Back next? Because one of you dropped off the list, so I'm just. Okay. Councillor Back, go ahead. Councillor Back, go ahead.
Thank you. I'll be supporting the amendment, and thank you for that. I think I wasn't going to support the revised necessarily because I feel like it was too prescriptive, and I think you were hearing what's being said. I think staff are hearing what's being said. I think you're going to come back with a revised application that's more in line with what you're hearing. I'm certainly hearing a majority of support for this type of development, and I think it's, I don't think we should be getting hung up on the FSR because, as has been pointed out by staff and by the applicant, that the other towers in the area are significantly higher than what's being proposed here. So, yeah, I think this just leaves it a little bit more open, and it's just less prescriptive. And I think, we do want this to, have a better chance of success. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Forbes on the amendment.
I just wanted to ask a question. Is the 24 stories on top of the podium?
It's a total of 24 stories.
Okay, thank you.
It's 25 because on the top floor, sorry, I didn't go through the right process, but the top floor is an amenity space for views and wellness. It's actually intended to be a wellness studio.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm prepared to call the question on the amendment, which is to remove the clause as is presented up there with the line through it. On the amendment.
Can I speak to the amendment?
Yes, you may. Yeah.
We come up to these challenges all the time. We want something in the community, and you know, most of the applicants are trying to deal with financial realities, and they need a little more. This is not new. We've pretty much seen this every time that someone comes forward. We've met before. You know I'm supportive of this. I also want to support staff to work with you. I think there will be impacts of the increased FSR. Please don't misunderstand me. I still want this to happen, but I want to also give some framework to the staff. So I'm not going to support the amendment, but please understand I still support the project.
Okay, Councillor Murray on the amendment.
Well, I just want to clarify that we don't do all this all the time. We don't triple our FSR in our town centers.
People come and ask for it a lot. That's what I mean.
Well, they don't come here. They go to these guys back here. So we don't do that. It's you know, this is quite a departure from the official community plan, and there is a process to it. So I just wanted to clarify that does not happen all the time. So I don't want you to feel like you're being treated differently, because we don't do this all the time. There's a reason why we have these. We went through a significant community process. We need to understand what this is about, and this is quite vague. So those are my thoughts.
Okay, thank you very much. Prepared to call the question on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment? Opposed? Okay, the matter passes with Councillors Ma, Forbes, and Murray opposed. And so now the motion has been amended to remove the specific FSR reference. And so the direction the motion that we're going to be considering is whether or not to send this to back to staff to renegotiate, rediscuss the issues that have been raised by council, including specifically a more modest FSR potential proposal for the project. I think we probably had spoken largely full-time on the earlier item. Councillor Forbes, you know what? You probably only spoke once. Councillor Forbes, second time. Go for it, Councillor Forbes. It's yours. All right. Well, there's lots of future discussions still to happen on this, so don't worry. If you have questions that come up, they can still be asked and answered. I'm prepared to call the question on the motion. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried unanimously. Okay. Thank you very much. Council, we have completed the business. Are there any reports that members of council would like to make as we come to a close in the meeting? I will say that I did just want to do an absolute tip of the hat to the Parkgate Community Services for a fantastic winter festival just this last weekend. They did an awesome job running an event in adverse weather conditions, we'll say, but the library was packed, the rec center was packed, the dance area that they had set up in the plaza was absolutely packed, and so it was so great to see the community out. So just wanted to express my appreciation to all of the volunteers and organizers with Parkgate Community Services Society that made that event so successful last weekend. Another event that I attended on the weekend was the Carol Ships Bonfire and the Scott Riddell Band. Again, a bunch of people in Deep Cove who just want to have a great time helps organize it. Is it actually the society that did it, or was it just it was a bunch of different people, and we had Parks tents down there. Minova was down there building lanterns for the kids while music was playing. Bonfire and the Carol Ships came into the Cove. Again, a very well attended event despite the tricky weather conditions we've had as of late. And so again, just want to express my appreciation to all the people who pulled that event off this last week. I know a number of members of council attended the Festival of Trees up in Lynn Valley, and there's another event coming up in Lynn Valley on the 13th, I believe, if I've got that correct. Lynn Valley Village Holiday Celebration, so it's in the same space at 1 o'clock on this Saturday. which is, again, the whole plaza is full of Christmas trees decorated by different organizations within the community. There's Christmas lights everywhere. It's a great environment. And I just highly encourage people to take time out and go check it out. It's pretty cool. Any other reports? Councillor Pope.
Thank you. Now I turned my mic off. It's been a couple of weeks, but I wasn't able to get this in before. As acting mayor several weeks ago, I attended the K-Makes Arts Center for the fans' tribute to the arts. And I have to say what a fantastic event it was to honor all the different types of artists across the North Shore, including Martha Sturdy, who received a Distinguished Artist presentation, and Peach Pit.
Oh, yeah.
Does anyone here know Peach Pit, the band?
Yeah.
So cool. So they received their award as well. And they're actually a group of young North Van guys who started rehearsing in their mom's basement. And now they have like millions of followers. And they just got back from a gig in Mexico City. And it was such an honor to meet them and to present them with an award. So thank you for giving me that opportunity to be acting mayor for that night. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and congratulations to all the artists on the North Shore for keeping this community filled with culture and liveliness.
That's fantastic. Yes, I remember when Peach Pit played Parkgate Community Center. Now they're filling much larger auditoriums than that. Any other reports, council? Hearing none, we've completed the business of this evening's meeting. I will accept adjournment. Accepted. Councillor Murray, was there a report you wanted to? Okay. Thank you all so much. Enjoy your week and good night.